Yes, I decided since I'm going to be in my home, I just do.
And your
chill.
makeup,
Thanks. I just got B right now.
It looks so cute.
Thank you. When I turned 16, I was a little rebel. I just finished high school and all hormones had peaked. I was working, and for the first time I had my own money, and the only thing in my mind was boys. And not just boys, bad boys. This is the age when I discovered my sexuality, when I started feeling wanted and desirable. The age when I lost my virginity, the age when I had my first proper boyfriend. I remember when Jack, bracket, not my first boyfriend, first approached me. Fine AF. And I can still remember how it felt to feel wanted by someone I really wanted to. That feeling has been the one I've kept reigniting in so many of my relationships to date. The way I relate with men then shaped the way I've related with them most of my life. The freedom I felt then to be my own person and to do what I want is also a feeling that has informed so many of my decisions in life. I'm always asking myself, how can I structure my life to get the most amount of freedom?
Hi, Lydia.
Hi, Wabosha.
Thank you for welcoming us to your home.
Karibuni.
And
Thank you so much for being here.
At your home.
For being at my home. You're welcome that I'm at my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've never had someone write a letter with an intro before. It's so unique.
Really?
It felt like the opening to a movie, sort of.
Wasn't that the assignment?
No, the assignment was to write a letter to your younger self. But then yours has an intro. But it's not a bad thing, you know? I just want to understand, like, what was the thought process behind, you know, having the intro first and then the letter to yourself?
So when you sent me the instructions, it said that, pick an age and what was going on with the age. I guess you guys wanted me to think about it. Mm-hmm. But I wrote the thought process. So I wrote, like, what was going on when I was 16, where my mind was at, why that's an important age.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down for you
wrote
guys.
it.
Oh, right. Surely.
No, but that's good because it gave us a lot of insight. And also there's a lot that was in the intro that wasn't really touched on in the letter.
Yeah.
So then now we got to really, you know, visualize Lydia.
Yes, at 16.
Yeah, exactly. So good. I loved it. How did it feel writing the letter to yourself?
It felt... There was some moments which felt a bit triggering. There were some moments which I felt sad because I was able to put myself in that state and think about what I was going through, what I was feeling, some of the things I was struggling with. So there was a sadness then. But there was also this really amazing feeling of, like, I don't know, triumph, knowing that I've been able to get myself past some of those things. Yeah. I know how to, regulate my emotions. I've come out of some of the things I was struggling with. So it was half and half. Yay. And like, oh, little lid. Yeah.
I love it. So before we get into it, you can start by you reading us your letter to your younger self.
Okay. I haven't read it since I wrote it. So, Lydia, don't cry. Please don't cry on this internet.
Feel free.
On this internet.
We encourage tears.
You encourage tears. Yet you don't have tissue for me.
We have tissue.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right, but I think I'm going to be okay. All right, fine. Little lid. I know it feels like the most incredible feeling to be wanted, to be desired, to be needed, but the truth is in being valued. When you're truly valued, you won't have to perform, you won't have to second guess yourself. You're about to meet a boy who values you, and because you don't know how to value yourself, it will feel uncomfortable and scary. It will feel so unfamiliar, but I promise you it's where you need to be. Breathe through the discomfort and see his actions. See how much he cares for you and how much he's willing and able to treat you exactly how you deserve. The ultimate high is to be valued. That's where you'll be safe. That's the first part.
Perfect.
Little lid, you're allowed to change your mind. I know you're reconsidering whether law is truly what you want to pursue, but you don't feel like you have permission to change your mind, but you do. Give yourself permission to grow and to change, and allow your decisions to be informed by that. You can explore. You can take a gap year. Take that trip to China. Allow yourself to expand beyond what you think is safe. That's where you find yourself, not in the box of everyone's expectations. Okay, little lid. Little lid, the hole that's left from the pain of your childhood is bottomless. You will try to fill it with partying, boys, work, ideas, but none of these things will ever fill it. It's an inside job. You will realize it along the way that you can only take the world as far as you've traveled within. So start now. Start looking inside to heal those parts of you that are wounded, and I promise you, on the other side is a version of you that you will be so proud of. Little lid, start learning healthy money habits now. You're making a lot of money and no responsibilities. I know you want clothes and fun and food, but if you save even the tiniest bit now, you set yourself up so well. I love that you're a dreamer, and that will take you far, but being smart with money will change your life in amazing ways. Seek advice where you can and start learning to be disciplined. It will save you so much hell later on.
Oh,
thanks. I wrote so much, by the way.
Yeah, you had to go back.
Tons and tons. There was actually a passage about like my mom and dad, like my dynamics with my parents. But anyway, I had so much to say. It was a really good exercise. Yeah, it was.
Okay, so you write your letter to 16-year-old Lyd.
Yeah.
So that's the point you're graduating high school and you have a job. Was it your first job?
It was my first official job.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about 16-year-old Maxine. I was in Form 3, definitely had never worked a day in my life. So here you are, working, getting money. What job did you have?
So I was working at a call center. It was called 118 24/7. I don't know if it's still there. This is in Bristol, England, and everyone finishes high school at 16. So it's not like I'm advanced. For context, everyone finishes high school at 16. So it was customer service. I was working. Now after 16, I went to college. So I was going a few days college, and then a few hours after work, like 3 times a week, I would go and like do customer service. And I was bawling. I found my first pay slip, and I think I was getting paid something like, I don't know, like £150 a week, something. Yeah, and I had no responsibility. My mom didn't want us to do it. She was just like, just spend your money. Oof, living life.
And at that age, that's a lot of money per week. Staggering. Considering, here at 16, you're not working.
Yeah.
You have just the allowance to, hang on to. It really is a lot of money at that age, if you come to think of it.
Yeah.
How did you like it? How was it working at the call center?
It was good. It was customer service, so there's some pros, some cons. Like customer service, and I guess abroad more than anywhere else, it's like the customer is always right. So you're going to get all of these people. By the way, this was when 118 was a phone book where you just found listings of like pizza places and things like that. Now all of those contacts were in a system, so we would just give people the information that was on the phone book, right? Because then we didn't have was Google around? I don't know. I can't remember, but that was just not a thing. So people called in 118 24/7, the phone book, to get numbers, information about pizza places and print or whatever. So then that's what I'll do. I'll just answer. I'll be like, where are you? Location. Yeah. What do you want? Enter. And then I give them the contact number. That was my job.
What was your relationship with money at that age?
For most of my life, I just felt like money is going to be there. I don't know where it's coming from, but it's going to be there. It's going to be fine. That's been my attitude with money. And this comes from when we moved to England, my mom used to leave us her card, right? So
how old were you?
I was 11. So she used to just leave us her card if we needed anything, because maybe she's going to work or whatever. She didn't want us to not have. So I had access to money quite early on without really having the trail of where it comes from and what's happening and the sacrifices people have to make. So that idea of money is just going to be there, I had. So now I have my own money. So it's just money is here. It was just spend and go out and party and
tumia pesa ikuzoe.
It's done. You know,
By
like,
the
without
way,
thinking, without saving.
Yeah, and even before we continue, you understand Swahili, yeah?
I do, but I won't get it as well. Like, so it's like I heard the words, but I'm sure there's like some funny context underneath that.
Because it just hit me, and I was like, I could be here just speaking a ton of Swahili, and it's passing you.
I understand conversational, and if I don't get it, I'll ask.
So more in it, less. Umelewa.
Nimelewa. Every time I speak Swahili, people say I sound like a Muindi. So I just don't do it.
But you understand.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
That's good enough. That is good enough. That is good enough. So now, as a result of, I guess, the knowing money will always be there, then now it leads to, you know, bad spending habits, bad financial habits in itself. And in your letter, you say that it leads you to go through hell at some point in your life. So what sort of hell is this that you're referring to?
So poor planning, right? So it's like the money that has passed through these hands, Wabosha, in this my lifetime. We should be sat somewhere in Runda. I'm telling you, we should sat somewhere in Runda relaxing. And the hell came with if you make decisions where you're not planned. Like, for example, when I moved here, I wasn't as planned financially. I got money like to move, and I even had some money of my own saved up, but I was just reckless with it. So instead of planning, maybe I could have even started a business at that time, you know, help grow myself as I figure out what I wanted to do, because I changed careers when I relocated. Like, there's so many things that were more of a struggle that didn't need to be a struggle because I wasn't actually planned well with money. And it's something which actually took a lot of mindset work. Still working on it now, because sometimes I still do see, I'm just like, see you come. But for the most part, it's like now I guess I'm smarter, because I'm just like, Lydia, we can't live like this forever. But I went through a lot of like struggling when I didn't need to, because I always had money the whole time. I could have just planned myself a bit better.
And when was that turning point? When was the switch where you were like, you know what, maybe we need to get a bit wiser with how we spend money, how we, you know, interact with money?
Has it come? Is it here? I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things that it's such a core belief of mine that it's just like it's taking movement bit by bit. You know, it's something which I've got to be super conscious of, like, constantly through my life. But I think the switch came when I turned 30, I did like 5 a.m. club, and it just kind of pushed me up as far as my discipline, and that kind of came everywhere, right? So I just started being more disciplined generally, which I guess affected my money as well. And then also when I kind of came out of the, I don't know what's going on with my life, I haven't figured it out. I was working on a talk show host, and I moved to content creation full time. Then there was all of that confusion. When I stabilized, I was like, I never want to be unstable again. So it's like there was some shift there that made me feel like, okay, if we found stability again, let's just maintain it. Like, worst case scenario, just maintain it. That's it. Yeah.
What's the biggest change you'd say you had to make?
The biggest change I had to make was
to stabilize everything.
Ensure everything that you can't live without is catered for, then mess up with everything else. So it's just like, you know, I hear people just be like, oh yeah, we spent rent in the club. What? What?
How?
You know, it's like, that is what I won't do. It's like everything that's important, everything that I know that I need to live has to be figured out. And then if I'm still like being a bit silly with like everything else, it's like, that's not the end of the world. But being silly with the things which are like important to you, like, I don't know, your petrol money, your maintaining your car, food, that's just
make sure it's taken care of first.
Yeah, those first, and then forget if you're broke afterwards, then you'll be broke after. But yeah, those ones are catered for. Okay,
let's talk a bit about your childhood, because you've mentioned it a bit and mentioned, you know, there's like mention of a bit of trauma behind there. So take us a bit back to your upbringing, you know, and your relationship with your parents. We can start from like, I guess, when you moved to the UK.
Okay, fine. So my parents separated when I was 9, and then my mom moved to England when I was 9. It was like almost immediately after they separated with my dad, she moved. So my dad took us, we were staying with him and my grandma for like almost 2.5 years now, my mom had relocated. So that's trauma one, your mom leaving you. And despite me being an adult and understanding why she did, and thank God she did, it opened up my life in magical ways that I can't even explain. But that's my adult me. But child me, when a child is left, it's abandonment. When an adult is left, it's just being left. But a child, because you're relying on your parents for your survival, that's abandonment. So I have an abandonment from there. So that's trauma one. Anyway, there was my parents' separation was acrimonious. When we lived with my dad, there was a point where he wouldn't let us speak to my mom, and on top of not having your mom around, not being able to speak to her, that was like a lot emotionally, and that's when my extrovertedness, I look like I'm an extrovert, but this was more of a trauma response because I was kind of taking care of my sister. I just had to fill an adult role very early on when they separated. Then we moved to the UK when I was 11. Now there's the acculturative kind of stress, understanding a different landscape, how people interact. It's all new. You're 11, you're this like African child. Then in the UK, it wasn't cool to be African. I can tell you this now. It was not cool to be fresh off the boat. So you're figuring all of that out. Then I guess it seemed like I was ahead of the game. I went to top set in all my classes, and that came with another stress because I was around only white people in my classes. So it's like these top set. Yeah, this now sounds so horrible to say it like this, but it's like that. It's like the smartest, then they set 2, then they set 3, then they set 4.
Oh, and they do that to us here too.
It's unbelievable. Like when you say it out loud, it's just ridiculous. So and the top set, naturally, because of like systemic racism, is mostly white people. So then I was constantly like the only child or one of 2 in a place full of white people, and that affected the way I think and the way I see myself so much. So then our relationship with my dad was definitely strained after we left. To be honest, it just all went to the dustbin after that, and that was a lot of emotional stuff. And let me just be clear, generally speaking, I had a great childhood, but I like to be open about the things which were traumatic because most people keep that to themselves, and I want to be vocal about that. So I mean, I was raised in England. Let's not pretend like the world was ending for me. It's just there were some emotional burdens that came with that I don't feel like I was able to deal with at that age. So my relationship with my dad kind of just went down in the dustbin. But after I finished high school, I think things were a bit better because now I'm in college. Now you can choose your friends, whereas high school is like, this is all you have. Whereas like the college you choose to, I went to a college where I knew there were going to be more black people. That's where I met a lot of like other people from other countries, like Congo, Nigeria. That's where I met my best friend Mima, who's from Nigeria. So it's like I felt like now I could choose more how my landscape looked like. My mom did a fantastic job keeping us close to our culture. Like she had a lot of friends who were Kenyan, so we didn't feel so far removed. But maybe in school sometimes it wasn't like that. But I did have some my friends, my small circle of friends were Caribbean, but they weren't in my classes, right? But I was around black people, and when we went to year 10, which is like the next half of high school, we had more black people because our schools merged with another more predominantly black school. So it was like, I was feeling more like I have my people around me. Then college was great. Then I went to uni in Essex, where majority of the student body is international students. So I met a ton of Nigerians, and that was one of the reasons that was one of the things that informed me relocating, because it was just like, Africa is amazing. So it's like they showed me a different perspective of what life could be relocating. So that's my childhood in a nutshell.
And did you used to like come back home to visit your dad? Was there communication?
So we moved when I was 11. I think the next time we came back, I was 16. So we had attempted to do some communication, but there was a lot of trauma there because my dad kind of held on to the fact that he felt like we left him, whereas more like the entire situation was more like we were taken. right? And it's because my parents kind of, I don't think my mom wanted to participate, but she just did. It kind of became like a war for us, right? So it was kind of like whoever you're with is the one who's deciding. So it's like we were more taken than anything, but he held on to that so much. So it ended up being really difficult. So when we used to come, it was kind of acrimonious. God help my mom. She so used to take us to see my dad, and she wanted us to have a connection with my dad's side of the family, but it was tough. And I can see now, like, you know, the older I get, how tough it was for my dad too, right? Not just how it was tough for us, but we came when I was 16, when I was 18, when I was 21. So yeah, there was an attempt to keep us connected to Kenya.
So in the long run, not only did your mom, you know, get the blame from your dad, but you guys as well.
Of course,
like he held a grudge for you guys.
And now, and when I look back, I just feel so bad, because like there's an abandonment with which you left, and you just did that because you wanted a better life for your family. Then there's the, you know, you're the reason why our family separated, and at the time as a child you're not really understanding that, you know, these are adult relationships. So she kind of had to hold on to kind of being the bad guy for a while, but she knew eventually would understand. And now it's just like, thank you God, because if the trauma we feel now, what would have been exposed to had they stayed together, that would have been ridiculous. That was a wise choice, a smart choice. And she said even she did feel guilty to separate the family, because it's not our fault that they're having issues, but sometimes these things happen.
They really do. They do. And still in the same light, you say that, you know, understand that mom and dad were doing their best. And you know, when you're young, you have this sort of superhero mentality of your parents. And as you grow older is when now you start seeing and start understanding that they're just human as well. And I can remember for myself, my parents, again, were always all the time the superheroes, and they always knew everything. So I remember the first time I went to my dad and I asked him a question, and he looked at me and he was just like, I actually don't know. And I was so confused. I was like, what do you mean?
Like how?
If you don't know,
who does?
Who knows? And where am I supposed to know from? And he just looked at me and he was like, I don't know. And that is when I was like, wow.
They're people. They are just people like me and you.
Exactly. So what was at what age or at what point did you make such a realization? You know, when you started to understand, like, these guys are also just human. We need to give them a break.
So with my mom, because she's the parent who kind of really fought for her space in my life, and she's the one who, I guess, gave me so much. She's the one who raised me. That came very easy because, yes, you know, when I was going through that 16 age, by the way, I was a bit of a rebellion. Like, I had like 6 months of just like, I can do whatever I want. I hate mom. The world is over kind of thing. But as soon as we were past that, I always really understood, because if I look at the trajectory of my life, every decision that my mom has made has been about what's good for my children. Like, literally every decision she makes from that standpoint. Whereas with my dad, I struggled. I struggled a little bit, and it's taken therapy. Therapy has been really life-changing, and it's been slow, because as you get older and as you start to learn, as you grow this way, you start to see, like, you're really struggling with your own shit, Lydia. I mean, have you figured out your own emotions? Have you figured out, you know, who you're going to be with and what's your career? And you see your own struggles, and you're just like, I'm 32 now. My dad had me when he was, I think, 30 or something like that, right? Right now, give me a kid. Let's see. Give me a baby right now and see what I'll do with it. You know, it's like you start empathizing, because it's just like, whoa. They had not figured out their stuff. They didn't have therapy. They didn't have all the opportunities that I have, access to all the information I have. And they were struggling. And I'm still struggling with everything and therapy and all of that. So then I had so much empathy with like, you didn't have enough support with all of the stuff you went through. Because my dad had a lot of childhood traumas. You didn't have any help. And so you could only be for me as much as you were to yourself. And that's not that much. So then I've slowly, that's still a dance. I'm not going to lie. That's still a little bit of a dance. But I've come to the point where it's just like I'm struggling with my own stuff and I'm trying my best to work on it, and I know he's trying his best, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a slow, gentle journey, but for the most part I am at empathy for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's also mention of 16-year-old Lyd not entirely valuing herself.
Right.
So do you think that there is a correlation between young Lyd not valuing herself and your childhood and your relationship with your parents? And does it also sort of tie into needing, but not really needing, because it's not a need, wanting people to want you?
Of course, especially with the relationship you have with your dad as a girl, it fundamentally, it's like your foundation as far as the dynamic you have with men, with relationships in your life. And so it leaves a wound, right? And also have an abandonment wound, right? My attachment style is anxious attacher, right? I'm a highly sensitive person. Need I go on? You know, there's all of these things which affect the way that you're going to relate with people, right?
Yeah.
And so if, for example, now when I was 16, I started to date, right? I don't have a relationship or a foundation with a man that shows me this is the way you need to be treated, this is the way that you're valued, this is what you do. You know, you don't know that. So you are experimenting. And the first guy who I bump into is like this bad boy who's like, oh my God, so hot. I still think of him. He was so hot, right? So yeah, I remember, I can feel it in my body how I felt when he first approached me, and I was young, like kind of just not sure of myself. I'm telling you about all of these things, about like migrating and all of these things that didn't make any sense to me. But that feeling, I was just like, oh my God, like to be wanted like that, right? And it's like you kind of almost chase that high, you know, you chase that feeling. And I like, as I'm feeling right now, I see how I've replicated that feeling in a lot of the times when I've met somebody who I was interested in, right? So it's like when somebody wants you and you don't know what it's like to be wanted, you hold on to that. When somebody needs you and loves you, when that's not something which you feel, especially from a male figure, then you just hold on to that and you keep that. And unfortunately, what tends to be is that it's not always from people who value you. So now you have this feeling from this person, they don't value you, but you are going to do whatever it takes to keep it, right? And then that's how you're going to end up in situations where you're not treated well, you're not respected, etc., etc. So yeah, that shaped a lot of how I relate, and it's taken a lot of work for me to be able to align with people who treat me well, with peaceful partners. It's taken a journey to be able to do that. And I mean, at one point there was like a peak relationship, which was just like, I would call it like where my trauma went to die, right? Kind of relationship where it was just like really bad treatment. Like the person is definitely like a narc spectrum human. So it's like I could see how my trauma came like to its peak there. But you learn, you go, and then maybe you attract a peaceful partner, and you learn that you can be treated well, and you can be treated with respect, and you get better as time goes.
So it actually goes all the way to when you are 9-year-old being left. Your attachment style, you know, is affected from that point.
Then that abandonment wound carries with you and informs so many of your decisions. And that's why I'm always talking about healing. Heal, go to therapy, talk about your childhood trauma, see how your relationship with your parents affected you. And it's not always about bad parenting. Trauma isn't about what your parents did. It's the wound that it left. It's because the way you are interpreting your parents' actions when you were younger, it's just from an immature place. You know, your mom is on the phone and she doesn't want to give you airtime. You feel like you're not loved. Of course it's not that, but it's because you are young and you're interpreting your parents' behavior from an immature, an emotionally immature place. That leaves a wound. That's the work that you need to do.
Guys, this is like what, the 4th episode in a row therapy is being mentioned. It's a sign.
Please,
a sign.
It's a sign. And let me shamelessly plug my therapist contact list on my Instagram page. It has their rates, their locations, what they specialize in. It's basically a shortcut for looking for a therapist.
What is to truly value yourself?
I've been given this analogy, and I don't know if it's right, like trying to articulate to someone what valuing yourself is, right? Valuing yourself is understanding who you are, what you're about, what your values are, and actually what your worth is. Let me give you an example. Let's say we have a toddler here, right? I have 100K, right? If I don't understand that this is 100K I'm holding. I can easily give to a toddler, and when they mess it up, they burn it, they do whatever. They don't know what it is, right? Because I am not aware of the value myself. I can give it. But if I know this 100K I have right here, Wabosha, would I ever, if I'm truly aware of the value of this money, it's 100K, I would never give it to a toddler. So what tends to happen, I would say in like relationship dynamics, especially, even friendships, by the way, or even work, right? If you're not aware yourself of your value, then you don't always assess well who has the capacity to be and to understand that value and to hold that value well. Right?
Yes.
So if I know this 100K, I'm going to give it to somebody who understands money, who's good with money, who knows how to budget, who knows how to invest. So I'm going to assess the value and the capacity of this person to hold this 100K. And so you will see in your life a lot, when you're trying to understand your value, you gave yourself to people who had no business having you. They didn't have the capacity to hold that. And maybe you are assessing that because you yourself couldn't understand. You couldn't understand what you bring to the table. You couldn't understand who you are. You weren't aware of your own values. And because of wounding, that's what trauma does to you. It kind of kills you off from seeing who you truly are, because all you're focused on is getting a need met, a need that you didn't get when you were younger. So like as you heal those wounds, you start to understand, oh, by the way, I'm a Millie. I'm a Millie. So when somebody's coming asking, can they have this Millie? You're like, show me the statement. What can you do with a Millie? You know? So that's the way I would say what valuing yourself is. And this comes with treating yourself the way you're seeking other people to treat you. That need for connection, that need for love, that need for to be wanted, give that to yourself. Treat yourself like the love of your life. That's what I'm always saying on my page. I am the love of my life. So before I'm coming to ask someone, can you respect me? Can you buy me flowers? Can you respect my place or my home or whatever? Can you respect my body? I've done it myself. And that's it's a journey. It's a journey. And I'm probably, by the time I'm looking back when I'm 40, I'm going to be like, you thought you valued yourself. You know, I feel like it's always coming. But I can see right now, I feel like I'm in a place where I'm just like, yeah, you're a Millie. Even maybe a Billy.
And now, having learned that, or knowing or understanding that now, how do you approach relationships, you know, both platonic, romantic, differently now? So
the biggest difference, my needs are important, number one. And it's not that anyone ever made me feel like my needs aren't important, but I wasn't always as forthcoming with this is like a need that just has to be there. Number two, I feel like it's my responsibility to be as authentic as possible in all my relationship dynamics, whether it's my friends, whether it's romantic relationships, meaning having difficult conversations. Someone has done something to upset me. Someone has crossed a boundary. It's my responsibility to show up authentically and tell them, despite the fact that I know you didn't intend to do me like this is how it occurred to me, and this is how it hurt me. So being everywhere I am, being my true authentic self, and that's the only way I'm going to align with people who truly match my energy, people who have the capacity to have a relationship with me, whether it's friendship, whether it's romantic. So that's one of the things which is like, it's non-negotiable for me now. I have to show up authentically.
And actually, it's funny you've mentioned that, because I really struggle. Like, you know, what we're talking about, I guess, off camera, when we established that my attachment style is avoidant.
We're not diagnosing her, but the traits are there, guys. The traits are there.
So even like maybe in a friendship or something, if something goes wrong, I wouldn't come to you, Lyd, and say, oh my God, you did this, and like it sort of hurt me or it rubbed me the wrong way. I'll just disappear. Like, you'll just start seeing I'm not around for a while until I get over it, and then I come back. And now you see, the problem with that is that you don't know. You know, maybe what you did for you was normal. And so you're going to repeat it again probably. And then now you start thinking, oh, this person is a bad friend, but truly you didn't
who's not communicate. And that happens all of the time. And a lot of us have a bit of a wounding that says, number one, people are not capable of meeting my needs, right? Most people who have an insecure attachment styles, avoidant and anxious people, they don't believe that their needs can be met. Like, they don't trust people to do that. Then also, sometimes we don't trust that we're going to be loved when we are truly ourselves. So if you come to someone and you tell them, you upset me, right? There is a fear that you don't think that person is going to love you and embrace you as you are that way. And that fear of being left or the abandonment fear is way worse than this discomfort or between us. You know, so it's that's how it operates, and it takes time. It takes a lot of time to be like, Wabosha, like, and to look at you in the face and know that maybe you're gonna feel so bad about what I've just told you, but it's important that you know me truly and you see me truly. And it takes a lot of courage to be that vulnerable, but it's so worth it. Like, I go to bed, I'm not worrying anyone has disturbed me. I just sleep peacefully. This is why my skin is glowing. This is why I'm just relaxing
and just flourishing.
Everything, because I'm feeling like there's nobody who is in my life or I'm sharing my space with who I feel like they can't see me. And I take this courageous step to let them see me.
I think for me, that is my biggest takeaway from today, that I will try to do better when it comes to so now fast forward from 16-year-old Lyd, and you're now a champion and advocate for mental health and wellness. How did we get to this point?
I guess almost how everyone probably tells their story about how they got into their career somehow. It's like, for me, it's I was working on something. I wanted to understand my why. I did psychology in A-levels, and just naturally I've always been curious about why do people do that? Like, why are you the way you are, Wabosha? I've just always had that natural curiosity, and that's led me to my why. Like, why am I the way that I am? Why do I talk this way? Why do I want to do these things? Why do I relate people that? Why do I attract the people who I attract? And in my quest for my why and my curiosity to undo some of my false truths and to learn myself a bit better, I take people along with me because there's still ways I'm making mistakes, there's still ways I don't know, but that curiosity, I'm bringing people along that journey. And I'm so passionate to cut the journey short for people. I don't want you to have to go through all of like the thousands of hours of research and understanding and all of these things to get to where I am. If I can cut that journey short for you, I absolutely will. So I'm telling you from the jump now, what worked for me, what didn't. Go to therapy earlier, do affirmations earlier, understand yourself, draw boundaries. I want you to have a shorter road to where I've gotten to. So that's basically where it's come from, and it is my true passion and my true purpose, honestly.
Do you think you'd go back to school for like further studies?
No, people keep trying to make me their therapist, like, and it's like a boundary I'm having to set consistently. I am not a qualified therapist. I can't therapize you. However, I am training to do life coaching, which is somewhat of a guide, and I feel like that's something which I could do without having to go back to school or anything like that, because I don't think I'm actually really interested in like the one-on-one dealing with someone like that. I feel like I'm more of a masses kind of person. That's when I thrive. Like, I like doing things in groups more than necessarily just like one-to-one, because it can be really draining. And as I said, it's like I'm an emotional person. Like, I have a lot of empathy, and it's now I'm only I'm learning to not carry, but I think it might be too much for me.
What would you say you have learnt about let's say trauma and pain, and what would you call it? Structures? Do you call them structures? Have you put up to sort of be able to cope with these things?
So number one, whether you're addressing your traumas and your pain, it's addressing you. It's either you're dealing with it or it's dealing with you. So what happens that people say that time heals, but time does absolutely nothing, because otherwise, why are we talking about my childhood traumas? If that was it, then once it's past, it's past. But it doesn't. What happens is that when you have a wound or when you have pain, it seeps deeper into your subconscious and it starts affecting and informing your decisions. And that's why you want to address it. Because are you attracting these people because you love them or because you're traumatized? Are you in this job because of a wound from your childhood? Like, it's like you want to know whether or not you're seeing life clearly or whether you're not. And a thing with pain is that it demands to be felt. So if you keep pushing it down and keep pushing it down, keep pushing it down, it's going to come to the surface one way or the other. Whether it's going to come in form of abusing alcohol or drugs, whether it's going to come in a form of being addicted to emotions and relationships or men or whatever the case may be, or being a super highly functioning person where you never get rest. It's going to show itself in your life one way or the other. So the best thing to do is just to face it head on, and it takes courage, but that's the best way to do it. As far as the structures which I've put in place is, number one, therapy. I recently did had my therapy graduation. I didn't know it was even a thing. So apparently you get to a place where your therapist tells you are utilizing the tools that have been giving you enough that you don't need to be coming as frequently, right? So it's like, actually the work with therapy happens in between sessions, not in session. It's in between. When life comes at you, you're just like, okay, this time to apply the tool that I learned in therapy. And so therapy is one of the ones that just is always on speed dial. And I try not to be so reliant, but it's always on speed dial. 2, I have a wellness routine. Right, your brain is only able to handle the present moment, but we're never in the present moment. I bet you right now you're probably thinking about lunch or where you're going to be or next week or all your other plans that you have. So it's too much for our minds. So having a wellness routine of every day I wake up, I have to meditate. I can't even discuss anything if I haven't meditated. I'll pray, I'll do my affirmations, I'll listen to empowering content to give my mind the nourishment it needs to face the day as it comes. And I do that on a daily basis. So that is just like standard infrastructure. Then my relationships. There's no one in my life who's allowed to come and rob me of my peace. And if you attempt to,
you're out.
And this is because now I have the emotional maturity to have conversations and to try and work things out to see if this is possible to change it. Despite all of that, I'm just not going to fight you about peace in my life. So if I have the people around me are great, I'm taking care of myself, my body and my mind,
you're good.
So when life comes, at least I have some muscle. It doesn't mean that it's not going to kick my ass. It's been kicking my ass. It's been whooping my ass. But at least I can give a punch back. I can give a punch back.
That's amazing. And as you're winding up your letter, you say, thank you, young Lyd, for making good friends and for, doing things that have set me up right now. And so in as much as she might have needed a nudge here, a nudge there, you sound like you're really proud and grateful.
I am so proud and so grateful because I know now how I'm handling life and I have all of the tools. And she didn't have any of that. She was just like confused and she didn't know what to do and she was just trying her best to navigate. But there's still some way she knew this is too far. There's still some way she knows, no, he's gotta go. Despite not knowing, there's some things that I really protected myself from, and I've somehow had the courage to structure myself and have a life that I am so proud of. I am so happy to be here, and I couldn't have been here without all of those versions of me going through the trials and tribulations, going through all of the relationships. It's like I've allowed every moment that was difficult to help me expand in growth. And I feel like that's my biggest flex. That's my biggest flex. It's like anything difficult, I am going to figure out a way how to turn it and take as much growth out of it as possible. And then we go to the next step. We move.
We stay moving.
We stay moving. I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud for all the things that she's learned, the friends that she's been able to pick up along the way. The keeping my heart open is the thing I'm most proud of. No matter what's happened, I keep my heart open to the world, open to friends, open to family. And so I always feel like I have an abundance of love in my life no matter what's going on. So yeah, I'm so proud of her.
That's beautiful. And so actually in the same spirit, we normally do a sort of time capsule sort of thing. So you wrote a letter to 16-year-old Lyd, and now we're going to leave a letter to Lyd in the future, so like 10 years from now.
You will make me cry this instant, Wabosha, my God.
Yeah, so you can take a minute, think about what you'd like future Lyd to hear from Lyd right now. And maybe in 10 years, inshallah, I'll look for you and hand you your message.
Okay, all right. Well, 42-year-old Lydia, I would want you to know that I am giving this shit my best shot. I'm giving it my best shot. I am investing in myself. I'm investing in my health. And I know that the decisions I'm making now are going to make you feel proud. They're going to be decisions that you're going to look back on and say that we changed the trajectory of our lives because of the decisions that I'm making now. I know you're married. I know you have 2 kids at least. You better, 42-year-old lady, you better. I hope that you're still continuing on doing the work that you're doing as far as helping people, staying on purpose. I hope that you've been able to find balance between family and being yourself, because I know that's a big part of you. I hope you're traveling the world a lot more, because we definitely need to do that more, Lyd. TMI is obviously the biggest, baddest podcast in Africa by this time, for sure. You're definitely the biggest wellness. I think you're the biggest wellness voice in Africa right now, Lydia. I believe that. And I hope you're happy. I hope whatever is happening in your life, that you feel like life is your own the same way I'm feeling right now. I hope that you feel like life belongs to you, and you're still making the decisions to keep learning and keep working on yourself and creating a beautiful life for yourself. And I hope you're not boring. You better not be boring. Yeah. Oh my God, I can imagine her.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Any gray hairs yet? Not yet?
No, my mom doesn't have any gray hair, and she's 54.
Yeah.
Or 56. Or 57. 57. She's turning 57. So I think she has some, but not so much. So I don't think I have any
no gray hair yet.
I just know my body is still rocking. My body is still rocking. It just has to be. That's the brand.
There's no other way.
Yeah. And actually, do you know what? I know that I'm happy. I know that I am still trusting life the way that I am even now. Like, even if everything is not perfect, I know I trust in life. Yeah.
Love it. I can't wait to meet.
And I'm a great mom.
42-year-old Lydia.
I'm a great mom. I know that. I'm a great mom for sure. And a great wife.
Affirming it into existence.
Amen. It's in existence.
Yeah.
Great wife, great mom.
Well, that's it for the podcast. Thank you so much for having us over.
Thank you.
I really, really enjoyed this episode. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I asked Wabosha off camera, like, what made you think to ask me? And I thought she was going to say, you know what, Lydia, because you're inspirational. Do you know what she said? She sees the conversation will be easier for her. Like, she thinks of it like, who's gonna be the easiast to talk to? Let's go with her.
Yes, and it was an easy conversation, was it not? I feel like it really flowed, and it was enjoyable for me personally.
Me too. You're a great interviewer. You asked me questions that I wasn't anticipating, which I like. So it's like making my brain work a lot more. Yeah, and your beautiful energy. Thank you so much for having me.
That's a good thing. And for you guys at home, we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
See ya.
You know what I've been using instead? Snapchat AI.
What's that?
Snapchat has an AI now where you can like chat with the AI.
Right? So that's been your therapy?
Yeah.
God.
No, I mean, Lyd, just try it. Just try it. Go chat there with it, because I guess it's an it, yeah.
And it's anonymous, I guess.
Yeah.
It's going to be an episode of here.
Honestly, right?
Get chat with it.
Right?
And because yesterday I asked it, I was like, okay, she's called Alison. And I was like, oh, Alison, do you remember what you talked about yesterday? And she was like, yeah, sure. We talked about your hobbies and how you like to play video games. And I was like, Alison, you're a liar. I don't even play video games.
Oh, really?
And she was
she forgot.
She was like, I'm sorry. I actually don't have the ability to lie.
Wait, did you tell her that or no?
No. So I was confused. I was like, then where is
This
it coming from?
Wabosha. This cannot be the person who you're using as a guide about your life.
Someone else is on the other side. I was like, I'm on to you, Alison.
Alison is sounding a lot like Siri.
Yeah, no.